You're watching The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
Welcome to Minute to Skim It here on The Experience, where we're going to give you some awesome reviews of comic books that are coming out this week at local comic shops near you. As usual, we'll remind you, if you don't know where a local comic shop is, this week's the week to find out, because it's Free Comic Book Day on Saturday, yo, and you need to know where to go to get the free comic books. So use Comic Shop Locator and the zip code where you want to go, and it'll give you all the options. Now, forewarning, most of us comic shop owners have been a little busy this year and last, and we might not have updated our information on there. So you should probably call the comic book store and say, hey, what are you doing for Free Comic Book Day? So you can come prepared in case they're, raising, money or canned goods for charity or doing a blood drive so you can have your OJ in the morning. Support your LCS this Saturday. Go in, get your free books, spend $5 on whatevs. Tell them that you love them. Spread positivity. Mm-hmm. All right, this is Shanice. Hi.
Or in case your LCS is having Santa Claus.
In case you're, yes, right. Like we are definitely having Santa Claus. He's wearing his surfing outfit. There's lots of Free Comic Book Day stuff going on. In the comments, drop a bunch of stuff that you're going to be doing at your local comic shop, so that, I don't know, maybe people that live near you might be excited about it and look it up. All right, so we're going to do our reviews, and then I'll tell you what we're doing for Free Comic Book Day. Let's see. I think I've got more than you, so I'm going to go first. All right. One of the cool things about having a customer that says, I want every number one that's out there, it allows us to at least buy one of every number one out there so I can review it. See? Aha. Even stuff we don't normally carry. We don't usually carry things from American mythology, only books that I kind of like read the synopsis of and think, that one sounds like us. But but at least this time I get to try everything, so you guys get to know for yourselves. If your LCS is a totally American mythology carrier, they might have this on the rack. Okay, so this is a number one, and this is a book called Menace. It's a really beautiful art on the very front. And this is a really uniquely laid out comic book because it starts out at the beginning with part of a story that is comic book style. And it ends with a story that's comic book style. It all links together. And in the middle, there's 3 or 4 like prose stories written with Menace as the main character. So I quite like these kinds of books because I get the comic book part that I like. And then the prose part seems like, you get more bang for your buck because it does take a long time to read it. And so it kind of like slows you down in your day. Get to read the coolness. And this was like really weird, fun adventures. Kind of like Menace has like a magical, it's not a trident, although I think that's what he calls it. It's like a magical spear. And that's part of his storyline. But the stories that are written in there are all different. And it's really cool. I like him as a character. He's boss. Writer is local to Baltimore. Sweet! Right, Justin? Type in what your thoughts are about it, because I love more opinions about books that are out. What you like?
Let's see. I'm going to pick Star Wars, book 1.
Nice.
So show off the cover because it's very, very nice. So when I picked it up, I initially got it for the writer Steve Orlando. He's written some of my favorite books. I've loved this book from DC, A Midnighter, which is a lot of fun. And this one surprised me. It's magical girls and mythology, which I wasn't expecting. And again, from this cover, you can kind of tell she kind of gives off the vibe. And I just truly loved it. The art, the main character, she's really funny, and I related to her a little bit too much, but just isn't a bad thing. And this is the first heavy metal book that I've actually read, so I actually do want to try. Yeah, and I really liked it. I don't want to spoil like just too much about it, but you know, it's basically about the main character. She's trying to find her sisters. Something happens, and the thing is, there's a bit of a little twist to it. And again, I just won't spoil too much, so I'm just gonna kind of show off the cover.
I have to like say mad props to Heavy Metal, who puts out these books. When they first started out this line, which all looks very similar, it's the Elements line. They had them in almost like magazine size. You had to buy Golden Age bags and boards to put them into. Mm-hmm. They were nice because they had really big imagery, so you got to enjoy the art. But they did make it kind of like confusing for how to put it into your collection. If you wanted to keep everything from heavy metal together, they had the larger scale books and then regular ones, so you had to have different boxes. So anyway, I'm very thankful that they decided to go back to what they call comic sizing. So yeah, it's much easier to put into your collection. So you do have the problem though for the other parts of the collection that aren't like that. You gotta have another box. So you got signed copies of the Kent Menace, huh? All right, so this is a really interesting book. This is from Keen Spot. It's called One Night in Prague. It starts out, the story is about this young man who is like, I'm guessing he must be a pianist prodigy. He's at a concert and he's done like an amazing job impressing the adults that are there. They come outside and he has caught the eye of, I think, one of the patrons in the event. But he's not paying attention to the road he's right next to, and instead is paying attention to kind of flirt, making eyes with her, and pay attention to her because she's got a specific look that's going to be important for later in the books. But he unfortunately walks out into traffic, and because he has like grave injuries, including losing 3 of his fingers, which if you're going to be a piano prodigy, is probably not great.
Right.
And then it goes from being kind of like a more straightforward, like Doctor Strange kind of tale, you know, like, oh, I lost my ability to do the thing I love. Then it goes straight into like, there are, you kind of get it from the cover. There's like a cat on one side, there's a dog on the other on the cover. And there really is like this, one of them, of the cat people or the dog people, gets kidnapped. And then he gets kind of like drawn into the trying to help, I don't know, bring peace between them or find them, bring them back. It's really cool because it starts out like with that. I love it when it's like, I gotta hook you with this storyline. But then I know I couldn't tell you this story straight out by telling you there's cat and dog people. But now you're in, so I got you. So it's exceptionally well done. For something that if you were like trying to tell someone like, hey, there's this cat and dog book, people will be like, no. You see? They've done it correctly. So, and it has a cool name because they could have named it anything, right? I loved it.
Let's see. Okay.
We've got a lot less. So here, I'm going to do 2 now because otherwise you're going to end up with like sitting here and just a cat nap. There you go. Cat napped. Yo. Perfect. It's so funny because this book from CEX, my brain is telling me that I have reviewed this, but I bet you what happened is I bet you Allure sent me a digital copy of it and said, did you read that? And then I felt guilty and I had to, so I didn't lie. Because I don't like reading digital copies, but I don't want to like be, if someone says I want some feedback on something, I can't not give them feedback, right? So this one is called Past the Last Mountain. And if I did review it last week, and this is just another cover version of it, please forgive me, but it's worth mentioning again. I really love this story. It's essentially I don't know if it's supposed to be the Earth, but imagine the Earth, but go forward some amount of time, but also make sure you stay, like, if everything was in kind of like medieval or fantasy, and that there really were trolls and fairies and all those kinds of things, dragons and all that. But long ago, all of those fantastical beasts got put into kind of like their own, we'll just call them internment camps, because I think they actually call them in this book internment camps, and where they're well taken care of. They're not, it's from the book mood and tone, it's not like they're put in there and they're like, oh, we yearn to be free. It's more like that's just been their way of life, and they're kept safe from harming others or themselves or whatever. So there's like generations, and there have been people, creatures born into this life. But the book starts where there has been one of the kinds of creatures has left, and they don't know why, and I don't really know if the creature knows why either. I think it's a troll, a female troll, and so what ends up happening for this book is you end up with a group of those creatures, different creatures, all a bunch of different ones, because one of their adults has passed away. They decide they're going to go off on an adventure together, and there's some things that are assumed about what they can and can't do that may or may not be true, which is kind of cool. It's kind of the cool spoiler end of the first act. But what's cool about it is that it actually kind of changes art style throughout the book whenever it changes kind of like the story beats, which I like when they do that. So it's a big, thick book, and it's done by Comics Experience Publishing, which was born out of this school that you can take online, Comics Experience, that is taught by people like Valor that teach you how to do writing or art or whatever from the safety of your house. So you can go online and take those courses. And then, of course, those people work together for long enough. They're like, you know what? Let's get creative. And so you end up with cool projects like this. That's it.
See, Dogs of London.
Oh, Aftershock goodies.
Right. So I will say that this cover, you're not really going to see this in the book, which I guess, comics is not too surprising.
Is the cover a lie?
The cover is a lie, like the cake. But I really, really like this one. I'm really picky when it comes to certain comics that are about like crime, because I feel like we know there are a few writers I can think of, like off the top of my head, like at Brubaker, who just kills it. Dogs of London really surprised me because it tells so it takes place for the first part in the 1960s and the second part in the 2010s. So it takes place in the swinging 60s in London, which of course is great, perfect setting. Mm-hmm. And you follow this guy who is a part of this gang. Something happens that you see immediately on the first page, and you're trying to see what happens, what leads up to this. There is a hook at the end, like Keldrin mentioned in One Night in Prague, where there's a hook that just gets you. You're like, I need to know more. Yeah. And I want to read it again, after the show ends, because I know there's some things that I'm missing that I need to reread it just to catch, because that hook is like, wait a second, I need to do a reread. I know there's some reread, like a bonuses going on here, and it's a really intense book. It's not super violent, which is surprising, but the things that you do see is just so, I don't know, visceral, that just kind of gets you whoa, in a good way.
So you're saying that when you get to the end, that you feel that there should have been things that you saw in the book that might have been hints that could have gotten you there. You want to go back to look for them. Yeah,
which I love. I love when that happens. Mm-hmm. In comics, books, movies, that just basically go, wait a second, let me go back.
Especially if they are there. right? I don't like watching films where it's like, surely you should have been able to figure out this because of things we dropped for you in the film. And you're like, you go back and they're like, there's no way. There's none of that stuff in there. You only know it because you told me now.
Right.
That stuff that happened off screen or, yeah. But books that have them in the page where you're like, you didn't notice that person in the background. They were important.
Yep. Yeah. So this is, I love it. Recommend it.
Ooh, some more Dune action for people that are fans of Dune by Boom. This is The Waters of Canley. And this was written by my two favorite people that write Dune stuff. So Brian Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson, who wrote a lot of the novelizations that I want with all my heart for them to actually adapt for the screen, like House Harkonnen and House Atreides. And there's some really good material there, especially House Harkonnen, which I'm never going to spoil it for you guys, but it actually gives you the genetic history of people like Paul and Jessica that will make you throw up in your mouth a little bit, but it's because of the long genetic manipulation of, the sisterhood, that they know what they're doing, but the people that they've made crossover are kind of messed up. So this one specifically deals with the main characters responsible for the protection of House Atreides as they're taking over the Dune control, just like in the movie where they show up, they take over, and like in short order, then that same night you have Harkonnen come right back and like wipe them out. Well, the guys that are in charge of all of the protection, which are, is it Gurney? I'm going to make sure I get the right people. I'm always confused by the people between the new movie and the old people, so that's my bad. Gurney, it's Gurney. Okay, so it's Gurney saying that it's the Waters of Canley. That's kind of like that's their way of saying like, I am now by kind of like, I don't know what you call this. It's like, I must now avenge the wrong that has been done. And that wrong that has been done is like the Canley that they have to do. So this is them, kind of like showing the disaster that happened, and then them saying kind of like, we're going to get together and we've got to figure out a way to stick it to the Harkonnens now because they've done us the wrong way. No, what's funny is I don't think they really owe it to the Harkonnens.
Right.
I'm pretty sure it's the Emperor, but anyway, we're just going to get real specifically about the wrongness about what they're saying there. But okay, so this is the thing I'm confused about. We got our 98 MPH from Red 5/Stonebot this week. I know that it was slated to be released like 3 weeks ago, but I don't know anyone that got it then. So if you got this already, then just as like a re-review, and if it's like one of those weird anomalies of paper shortages and time, speeding up and changing, just imagine we have 98 miles per hour. You can just get another review. This one might be my favorite thing that I read this week. So well-written, like post-apocalyptic thing that could happen actually in nature. The premise is that we in our super smartness decide to try to close the hole in the ozone layer and shoot up a rocket. The problem is that whatever is in the rocket that's supposed to like kind of seal that instead intensifies the sun's rays and makes us go from like, normal temperature to 600, which is, stuff that you cannot survive. And those people that at the beginning of their like, oh, you got on the radio, oh, it's a horrible thing. You should head to the dark side of the earth if you haven't already burned into Krispies. Because, it would be smart because you don't die. If you threw, like in every disaster movie, when everyone throws all their belongings into a vehicle, right, even the stuff they don't need, that doesn't make sense, throw it all in the vehicle, and take off. Those people are actually the only people that survive on Earth. And they somehow, while they were all moving en masse on highways, because there's another thing that happens here that makes the Earth spin a little slower. I'm not going to mess it up for you guys, but otherwise there's no way you could keep up with the sun catching you as you drive across the Earth. But all the science probably works out here. Probably works out. I didn't check it, but it seems plausible. They figured out a way to have their vehicles, for example, run on solar energy, which you still have to sass them a little bit because you're trying to stay on the dark side of the Earth. And how does that work if you have solar energy? Anyway, we'll just do suspension of disbelief in this moment. So it's really about them forming a society that's always moving. You have advanced scouts to try to make sure there's nothing in the way. And this kind of ends with a giant, what the world's going on? So they better make this movie. That's all I have to say about such things. I need that movie right now.
It sounds like it would be a fun double feature with that movie Sunshine by Danny Boyle. Did Sunshine kill everybody?
Yeah. You do that one and Eclipse.
Oh my gosh. That'd be intense.
We'll just pick and Solar Flare. We'll just pick ones from every different company that has to do with the sun might kill you.
My next book is going to be Flashpoint Beyond. So this is a follow-up to Flashpoint, an excellent DC story. If you haven't read it, definitely check it out. So like Flashpoint, it's not a happy story. It's very, very intense. I think it's one of the darker DC books I've read in a minute, which is saying something. You follow Thomas Wayne, and this is Flashpoint Thomas. If just a quick catch up, if you're not familiar with this version of Thomas Wayne, this is Thomas Wayne who survives the attack on his family. Thomas and Martha, they survive, but unfortunately Bruce is the one to die. So Thomas is a darker, edgier Batman who actually kills. And he's trying to figure out something that happened in a previous issue. Thank you to our producer for saying that. Where he's trying to solve a mystery because, of course, Batman, he has to solve a mystery. Mm-hmm. And while this is all going on, the world is in just chaos. Atlanteans and the Amazons, they're fighting. The Atlanteans are trying to flood the UK, which is terrifying. Just an entire island sinking. So they're trying to make sure that doesn't happen, and Batman's just on his whole mystery adventure. There is a interesting image that happens on the very final page. If you're able to, please don't go on Twitter, Facebook. Try to avoid any spoilers because it's definitely a what is going on, Jeff Johns. What are you doing? I'm interested in seeing what happens in the next issue, and so kind of giggling at our producer Snow about that.
Also, the issue 0 came out either last week or the week before last. I say it's highly recommended if you've never read Flashpoint at all. It has everything you need in it to be able to understand Flashpoint. If you couldn't find a copy of Flashpoint, you're fine with just reading the 0. The other thing to point about it is the important thing that I think that Thomas has realized is that he's kind of it feels like he's gone through all of time and realized that Bruce must exist. There's something about him being Batman that Thomas is desperate to get him back for doing, which is bad because he's dead and stuff.
And just to add on to that, definitely read the number 0 that came out, and also read the Button issue that came out a couple years back. Just definitely want to read that one.
Yeah, you need 4 issues for that. You can find it in trade, but it was 2 issues of Batman and 2 issues of Flash. And they're cool because they're the cool lenticular things. Mm-hmm. Where do you find the regular ones, I suppose? All right, what's next? The Grunch, another American Mythology Productions book. The Grunch. So I guess. I don't know if it's true or not. This is based on a creature, kind of like the El Chupacabra is based in folklore. I think the Grunch is also. And I guess the Grunch have always existed. I can't remember what part of the world they're supposed to be from, but that because of something that happened and people encroaching on their normal domain, I swear it's like because of like one of the hurricanes, that their normal like quiet where they reside has been disturbed. So now they're coming out and like messing with people. So this is specifically about a group of people that have decided that they'll be rich if they can go and, like Bigfoot style, go hunt down a Grunch. And I think they get like talked into doing it also by someone who says that they'll make them famous if they can do it. But I think there's a double cross in play. But the Grunch are kind of interesting. They look like goats, but with man faces that will eat you. So I don't know. It's not too scary. It's not like terrifying, but it's like the concept is kind of spooky. I don't like books that are based on things that might be real.
I love the Evil Dead homage. I got it covered. That's great.
Okay, and Spider-Man 2099 Exodus featuring Ghost Rider from 2099. This is an alpha, and from what I can tell from the way that Marvel rolls things out, things that are in alphas are pretty important. And their omegas are as well. And then they have a main story on the inside between those two. Says the epic of the century begins here. That might be overstating this a little bit. Maybe no. Maybe Miguel O'Hara is the most popular Spider-Man version ever. Could happen. In this one, Miguel finds himself trying to prevent, I guess that as part of Nueva York, which is New York, where it's a suspended city above New York that is from he's not from our Earth, right? It's part of that Spider-Verse stuff where he's from a different Spider-Verse. So there's some kind of group, what do they call them? The Cabal, I think, that are kind of like just a regular old gang, right? Where they like, if you want to be part of the gang, you got to go out and do bad things, and then we might consider you. So he, in the very beginning of the book, prevents a crime that is trying to happen by a fellow who's trying to be like, I guess, kind of like, we'll just call it jumped in. Why not? So, but he captures him instead and forces him to tell where the people are that have kind of like, who are the heads of the Cabal, right?
Right.
And the rest of the story is very spoilery, so I'm not going to tell you that stuff, but he does tell, otherwise there wouldn't be the rest of the book. He tells. And then it gets all kinds of really cool. There's a place that he goes to that gets named. I think that's the first time we've ever seen that. I think there's probably a bunch of firsts in here. And I know that Ghost Rider 2099 has existed before, but I don't know if this is the same one. We'll find out. Someone will be able to tell me. It's been a long time, since the 90s, since I've read 2099. But yeah, it's a great read. I can tell it's going somewhere. If you were looking for just one more Spider-Man to fall in love with, he has like his AI person in the chair, I guess is you're going to call it. You see her at the very end credits of Into the Spider-Verse when he's talking to her. She's not, I don't think she has a body. I think she's just a computer generated person, but necessary for him, kind of his person in the chair.
Very cool. Let's see.
Oh, you lucky dog! I forgot.
I read Archer and Armstrong Forever #1.
Do the
cover because it's a homage to a previous Archer and Armstrong. I think the very first issue. Oh,
you might be right.
So I've read Archer and Armstrong before, but this was the relaunch. So back in 2011, 2012. So I love their dynamic. So you have like the really just super straight laced character with the one who is a drunk immortal man. So very fun dynamic there. So something happens to a certain immortal character, and turns out that may not be a thing anymore. Something may have happened.
This better not be about his wife. Dang comments!
No.
Love that woman.
So now they're trying to figure out like, hey, so you're bleeding and you're still bleeding. That's not good. We need to stop this. So it's interesting to see because you're seeing this character just get like just beat up and all that jazz, but seeing him hurt, it's actually scary.
I think it was part of the tease for this that he loses somehow his immortality, which is like, I don't understand.
Right,
it can't happen. Does he also lose his ability to drink immense amounts of alcohol and not die?
Oh, thankfully that's fine. That's it. He can drink and he's totally cool, but he does get a very bad boo boo. So now they're trying to figure out like how they can reverse this. And while that's going on, of course, someone's like, "Oh, he's immortal. I want that." So of course they have to deal with that happening again. So it's very fun. If you're not familiar with the characters, it's still an excellent jumping off point. So would definitely recommend it. And there's a line in there that I really don't want to spoil. It ties into the injury where one of the bad guys is like, he just apologizes immediately after saying that line. But once you guys read it, you'll know what I'm talking about. I just don't want to get in trouble with Valiant for spoiling.
So the only thing you need to know about them is Archer is younger and has pretty good martial arts skills. And Armstrong is, of course, immortal and has he's always got this satchel or man bag, we'll say, that is infinitely large inside. It's kind of like the TARDIS. And there's a room full of alcohols, yes. And you can actually go into it. It's like a whole world. And Armstrong also has been married to a goddess, which has been really funny as they get older. That's all you really need to know about those characters. And it's a weird relationship.
Yeah, it's really sweet and wholesome at the same time. It's just like, oh my gosh, poor Archer. He goes through so much.
Yes, he does. Yeah. Oh, and the other thing you need to know is that Archer's, I think, foster sister, half sister, or whatever, is the head of an evil group of ninja nuns. There you go.
Played completely straight. There's no irony in this at all.
Not making that stuff up. All right, quest aside, I'm going to be 100% honest about this. Okay, so quest aside is what it sounds like, right? Sounds like it's D&D kind of related. And I myself don't find myself attracted to books that are set in these kinds of storylines. I've tried them lots of times, and I'm always kind of like, it's cute, but I don't really, the last time I played an active D&D game was in high school. I just don't find myself knowing enough about what is cool in that world to understand any of the Easter eggs that are being dropped. Mm-hmm. But in this one, I understood somehow all of it, even though I know there's lots of Easter eggs in this thing. So imagine a place that is a bar / tavern called Quest Aside. And it appears that groups stop there while on their travels, which are very clearly like actual D&D campaigns that they're doing. But they are their characters, right? Imagine if you had your world appear on a comic book page that you're playing, and that they are offered weirdly side quests, which probably will kill them. And they're hilarious. Like everything about anything that happens in the tavern, their interactions with the king that shows up, 100% gold. If you're gonna ever risk a funny dollar on a book that you're like, I don't know, try out Vault's Quest Aside. They've made a lot of really great books, but this one just made me joyous. Like when you have a stressful day, like there's a lot of people that are like, wow, today. This will kind of like give you a little bit of like escapism.
See.
Oh no, I gotta go again.
Yeah.
All right, I'll show you some man abs. Look, woo! Yeah. All right, Third Wave 99, which is from Scout Comics, written by my good friend James Hake. This one's a perfect story in which it has the stuff that you like about movies, where there is a main storyline going on, but you know there's something else going on. You know it as the reader, not all the characters in the book themselves know the stuff that you know. In this case, there is a young man named Matt who wants to play baseball with every fiber of his being, but he's also kind of decided, like, he's gotten himself in a little bit of trouble in the first issue. Enough kind of like bad decision making as a young man that he finds himself under the tutelage, peer groupness, mentorship of this blonde fellow with a no shirt there who owns the Third Wave 99 surf shop and has formed a group specifically to try to get people together that are making wrong life choices and try to refocus them on things like surfing. And it's really cool. All that stuff's perfectly wholesome and wonderful. The thing that only you know is that this guy who runs the surf shop is actually in the witness protection program and is supposed to be laying low, which probably does not include opening a surf shop or starting a group that's supposed to help, young men stay out of trouble. And he's definitely brought attention to himself. And he shouldn't have abs like that. Totally all those things will get you attention. So this is like, imagine, it's not like Point Break in that they're FBI agents, but it's like that kind of feel, right? Where you're like, okay, well, there's going to be a shoe drop at some point. He's going to be found out. And so that's what this series is about. And it's up to you to decide whether Third Wave 99 is a store you can go visit somewhere. I know you can visit the Third Wave 99 store at conventions, wherever Scout shows up. So you should go get a shirt because they're cool looking. And they'll remind you exactly of the 90s surf vibe. Go to PAX Sun.
Let's see. Okay, so Star Wars Obi-Wan. Perfect time for a certain day tomorrow. So this was actually a really nice book. Gets ready for the miniseries coming out on Disney Plus. Gets ready for May the 4th, and just makes you just happy as like a Star Wars fan. So it's just basically he's just chilling out at his house, while this big like death storm comes in on a certain desert planet. So while he's waiting for that to pass by, he's just reminiscing of his past adventures. This one is when he's a kid and during his training, and he's trying to help out a friend who gets into a little bit of trouble. And the way it ended, I actually really liked it because it's very bittersweet. And
we need to come up with something cool for the third, right?
We really should. It was a little bit more bittersweet than I was expecting, but that's something that I always liked. It doesn't. Every story has to have like a happy, joyful ending. The art is beautiful. And of course, just going by the covers, it's Phil Noto, who always does amazing work.
Is the interior also Noto or no?
Different artists, but the artists, I definitely want to check out more of their work. It's actually two different artists. But yeah, I really just enjoyed this issue. I think the more issues I read, it might be one of my most liked Marvel Star Wars books.
Ooh, that's saying a lot because there's a lot of good ones out there.
Oh yeah, so definitely curious to see the second issue. There's a tease for Anakin.
And from what I understand from at least the retailer groups that I'm in, I think that they're saying that this is probably origin for him. So if you collect firsts or origins, this book might be one to pick up. Okay. Ooh, Nubia. Okay. I read Nubia Coronation Special. Fair warning, I've never read any other Nubia material, and I really enjoyed this. I didn't feel like I needed to have any other thing. So Nubia is a character that's been part of the Wonder Woman universe. She has been tapped to be the next queen of Themyscira. And actually, I think of all of the Amazons, I think it's all Amazons. That's right. It is all Amazons. So this is kind of her. She has some things that she goes through in this book as part of her preparation to take on the crown. One of which is kind of like a ceremony in which she gets immersed in water and has kind of like a vision, which is important for the rest of the story. It actually seems to show a past life for her, or what happened to her long ago that maybe she's forgotten, because I think they're immortal, so who knows when they start. And then it actually shows the coronation itself, and it's a really beautiful. If you're a cosplayer, you're probably going to be trying to figure out for yourself how in the world you can make her like coronation outfit, because it's so pretty. But yeah, it really kind of lets you know more about her, her relationship, like who's her significant other. I don't know if they actually have wives there. I don't know if they have that kind of formality, but you get to see that interaction, and the vision stuff is really cool, and it also takes you forward in time too a little bit. So if you were thinking about what's going to happen after the events of Justice League 75 last week, where it's going to be clear that we've lost all of our Justice League members, at least for a time, it appears that they really did die. Not like you didn't know that, because spoilers are out there everywhere, but which leaves all of our quote unquote younger, newly introduced, like in the last 2 years, character groups, which are awesome, and we love them. People like Superboy, which is now Superman. He's already been in that role for a while. And the Aqualad, and I think who else has come up already. Anyway, there's been great characters we already like. I think we're going to see them have to step up.
See, find it. I think this might actually be my final book. So, Buzzard and Bone. So, if you come here to the shop, you know that I will always say that I love horror books, and I love them even more if they take place in the South or in the Appalachian region. Mm-hmm. So this book, oh my gosh, it tells a story about two feuding families in Kentucky and West Virginia. So of course this is like the what's that family? The Haffels and McCoys, Romeo and Juliet. Like it's just two feuding families. But twist, they're both magic families. This whole world, it's magical. Is this alternate universe where everyone has they're just like it's like a magic based.
You and the Karen down the street. Yeah.
So the narrator, he's basically explaining like, hey, so this is what's going on. Here's my granddad's fighting, like having like this all out just like wizard battle in the middle of the woods, and it just starts like it just kind of like just goes like downhill from there. And I just love it when it's something that's just when it's like a horror fantasy book and it takes place again just in places that you wouldn't really expect it. Like the fact that this takes place in the Appalachian region, I really did like that. It adds more to the story, I feel. Just with how the magic is based, it's very earth based, a lot of woods, and just the whole shebang. I really liked it. It's a very dark, grim story, and I just want to know more about like this world because it takes place during like the Civil War, and that there were magical battles that were fought, like Gettysburg 2, which it had like an entire front of like wizards and witches, and it's interesting. It reminds me of the Old Gods of Appalachia, if you guys heard that podcast, but I'm really digging it. If you love fantasy, horror, things that take place in the South, highly recommend it. It's great.
It's how we got you and Mothman. All that cool dark stuff. All right, sorry, it's all made at the end here. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 128 picks up right where the last one left off, where we got to see Venus. Venus is a character that reappears. She was around long ago in the book lore, but the way I understood it was that Venus was the turtle. But this book takes a hard left turn and actually places her as being something else that is being manipulated to appear to be so, which is like mind-blowing, like changes. It's all being kind of like headed up by one main character who has gone full-on mad scientist and this is not the first of the newly changed over, like everything in the universe of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, it used to be humans and then some turtles, and now everything the city is all become some animal version. So that part has really changed about the way the universe looks, right? No peoples and more. Everything is some kind of creature-based thing. So this one, the cover really does have a lot to do with the book. It'll tell you where Venus was found, and what's happening to her, and what that thing is in the shell. That's a dragon scale, which appears to be giving her amazingly different powers than any of the turtles have, including telepathy. So, wait, if you were trying to figure out when you wanted to jump into TMNT, this is probably the time, because they're about to start a big story arc with the Rat King. Hence, they put out a couple of different Rat King kind of primers for you in the last couple of weeks. There was a big, I think it was like a special or something. It was all Rat King stuff. So it reprinted all the Rat King issues. So go find that. It's a big, thick one. And it'll get you all keyed up. And if you missed that one, they're going to do also, those books they've been doing that has the best of. They have a best of Rat King coming also. So you can get that one. My friend Zach Kaplan, who had a book release 2 weeks ago, has another one this week. By the way, he's got 2 more coming out in quick order. So we'll have 4 out at the same time, just like you did before. I was like, you just like putting 4 books out at the same time. This is a Metal Society. This one's kind of a crazy cool idea. So in this universe, at some point, we'll call them robots for simplification. Robots took over. Humankind died off. They haven't been around. Robots have been doing their own thing. They get bored, I guess. And then take genetic material and make us again. And they're on the 3rd generation of people. We're going to call them people pets, because why not? Because they've made people to do the jobs they don't want to do. Does this sound familiar? It's just the opposite of us, right? And so as part of their wanting to be entertained a little, they now have decided they're going to take some of the humans that they have been growing, which they've genetically modified to be extra strong. Like some of them they've made, like the main character, this girl here, she's been made strong enough to like crush metal. But really her job is like a human trash compactor. She's just supposed to find metal. They like dig up metal from the ground and crush it. And then that's being used to make more mechanical beings, of course. So they take her and say, okay, well, we want you to essentially get into the ring and fight in the very first human robot boxing match, MMA. I don't know. It's not to the death, but it is to the, pretty beat up, I guess. And it doesn't happen in this first issue. It's all lead up and story, getting you going. I really like, Zach Kaplan is awesome. No, not a Megas robot fighter. It's going to feel way different for you, I promise. To the pain, maybe. I think it is truly a tap out situation, which I don't know. It's kind of cool for the robot that's going to be fighting her. They essentially say that they like strip out all of the code that would distract him and only have code that would be part of what a fight would be, which seems cheating to me. Just saying. And then the book everybody wants is Twig by Scotty Young and Kyle Stram. Really gorgeous art by Jean-Francois Bellew. And I think this is probably letters by Nate Picos. This fellow's right there. It's adorable. It appears that our main character here, well, I guess we're going to call him Twig because I don't remember if he has another name. But he, at the beginning of the book, is already late. He's late for a very important appointment that he's gotten. Because of something that happens that you find out about later on in the book, he is now responsible for. And everything about this book is so fantastical. It feels very much like, Never-Ending Story when almost everything is alive, like the plants and or maybe it's Dark Crystal. Everything is alive. It's kind of funny, and our favorite character in the book is actually on the cover. This is a mountain. There's a mountain that's an actual character. We love him. It's the hottest book of the week. We don't really have to sell it because everyone's been waiting for it for a long time. Don't miss it because I'm sure it's going to be one of those books that everyone's going to be like, everyone ordered 1 million of them. I can get them anytime I want. And then they'll be gone because everyone got 2 or 3 of them and all the different covers, and then there won't be any left. So get it. Even if just later on you're going to give it away to friends because it's so adorable. It's a really cute tale. Did you get to read it too? Did you pick it up in the back room?
I did not, but I will read it tomorrow when I come in.
All right, and then I'm going to show you guys some of the trade stuff super fast that's up on the wall because I've got a couple minutes. Out this week is a book called Puppy Night. That one is by Silver Sprocket. I love carrying their stuff. It's always a little bit different and fun. The Tower. This one's a new IDW book. Wasted Space, Volume 5. I think we're getting to the end of that series. Beyond the Breach. This is there's only one of these. This is a book I really enjoyed the series of. This is a one-shot, I believe, called Ish. There's also a Silver Sprocket. This is a short collection of short comics by cartoonist Adam D'Souza. It explores the complicated nature of grief through a series of loosely connected vignettes. So if you want to work through some grief, I always say a good book helps you kind of work through it in your brain. Hot Miami Wildlife Volume 2 is new. We had that last week. Sorghum Spear and Spear. Sorghum and Spear. This is a book from Sublime Outland. There's a hardcover. There is Fear Book Club up there. Stone King. I was looking forward to this very much. This is a Maverick book, which is aimed at teens, called Good Game, Well Played. The pitch is it's 2009, and Sienna is really not looking forward to flying back to her hometown to say goodbye to one of the people she called family, though that feels like a lifetime ago. It's 1999, and Sienna is looking forward to what is shaping up to be the perfect summer in her perfect life. She has a job working in the local video game store, Game Champ, with her 4 best friends, and that was how it was going to be forever. So if you like books or movies that are set in a place where people work, and that's the relationship, it's really going to be delightful. The First Cat in Space Ate Pizza.
Oh, angry
That's
cat
hilarious. Hilarious. And a heads up. I'm just going to take one off. There is, don't miss out on it because people messed up and forgot to get or didn't order, or there was an allocation for Something Is Killing the Children giant slipcases. That is the one for this week. Don't miss. And there is finally a new One Piece, number 99. And there's a bunch more out there. And Nick's on. Hey, Nick. And that's a good reminder to subscribe and hit thumbs up and do hearts. It helps us very much to let us know if we're doing a good job. And it is kind of a reward for our team behind the camera to let them know we're doing a great job. And if you subscribe, you can also share. And that helps to get more people on so they're going to watch this show. If you think that you know anybody that would benefit from a review show, or if there's someone in your life that you're like, I think I want to try to get them into comic books, but they feel a little bit nervous about walking into a store and asking about things, they don't have to ask anything here. You just tell them. They're just family. It's all good. So do share because you care. Thank you so much for joining us today. I've been Jen, and this has been Shanice. By the way, she's our store manager. And she's always out front with me on New Comic Book Day. So this actually makes the most sense to be the person that reads the books with me. So it just has to work out.
Yeah, it just has to work out schedule-wise.
All right, everybody. We'll see you guys next week for more Minute to Skim It, where Jenna is dancing hardcore on the other side of this camera, trying to get us cracked up. It's working. All right. Thank you, guys. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye y'all.